How are we doing, everyone? This is Robert Gums bringing you the Concern Forum. And I will tell you quite frankly, let me get this off my chest. Um, I'm mad as hell. And I tell you why I'm so angry. And this is not to get into, winning or losing this election coming up. But the fact that Trump, uh, it's not so much a thing about whether or not the clown wins or loses. The fact that he gets more than 3 million votes, I think it's a disgrace, quite frankly. It's like I keep telling people, this election, it's not about, it's not between Harris and Trump per se. It's about who we are as a nation. It's about who we are as a country, right? We have to, we have to start facing some facts. Finally, start to face some facts that we have definite problems as a nation. We are the strongest, the most powerful nation in the recorded history of this planet. At where we stand right now, in terms of longevity, well, in terms of a lot of things, military strength, economic clout, we got it. We got it all beat. But yet we seem to have so many problems. I listen to some of these people, especially some of these poor people that stand out in front of these Trump rallies. And to listen to them, it's like the whole country is, from West Coast to East Coast is burning up. And that's not true. I get so tired. That's why, I avoid listening to them whenever I can. I read the commentaries after he says whatever the hell it is that he says. Because even the sound of his voice makes me want to vomit, quite frankly. But just listening to this guy, oh, the immigrants, and I'm very upset with the so-called mainstream media. It's like no one who works for mainstream media ever bothers to ask the question, well, hey, by the way, Donald, where'd you come from? How long has your family been in the United States? They never ask him that question. They never asked this guy the question about, well, wait a minute, isn't your mama an immigrant? Wasn't she an immigrant? Well, why does our media ask questions like that? You can't say, because I remember so-called conservatives and right-wingers used to brag around the world, yeah, we are the haven. We're the haven for the world against the nasty commies, right? Now, it's like, oh God, those terrible brown and black people, they're coming here, they're taking over. I mean, just on lying and telling people BS, right? based on just that alone, the guy has no business. Um, I'm not just talking about running for president. The guy has no business having any public job, even a janitor, say. And I just don't understand, you got these people out there and they claim, they talk about America this, America that. And they don't understand what the hell America means. They don't understand what a constitution means. I mean, how can you go and vote and support a guy that says, my first day in office, I want to tear up the Constitution? Yeah, that's what he said. He said, I want to be a dictator my first day in office. So that means that he wants to tear up the Constitution, our constitutional government that we have in this country. He wants to basically flush it. And it's so, it really bugs me out, people, and they talk about the vice president. Well, I still don't understand her. What does she want to do? Every damn time the woman speaks, she's telling you exactly what the kind of policies that she wants to have. And see something else too. It shows you how uneducated a lot of people are. And they'll tell you, well, don't call people uneducated because you'll turn them off. Listen, this is not 1954, okay? Elections nowadays, people talk about, well, politics now is so venomous. Well, number one, politics in America was always rough because we're a democracy, okay? But we had, there were certain limitations, which, they're all gone thanks to Trump, right? But that's why maybe it seems so nasty now. Because, for example, we put a guy in the White House and his thing about being anti-women, and yes, you can be married, you can be intimate with a woman or with a number of women and still hate and or disrespect women, which, I mean, that's Donald's modus operandi to the T, see? And I'm still trying to figure out how in the hell it was legal. But the Supreme Court says, okay, well, this amendment here that we got and have for the last 50 years, we're going to get rid of it. Well, theoretically, the idea of, well, I happen to be a black guy and I'm in love with a white woman and I want to marry her, that could be, that could be made illegal. Because if you can undo the rights, then what's to say that you can undo that? Or that you cannot undo that? I remember Joe Biden made a joke when he was running in 20. And where was he? Atlanta somewhere? He said, you guys better be cool and pay attention to who you're voting for, because he might have you back in chains. Well, Joe was pretty damn close to that. Ask that poor woman that died because she couldn't get the health care that she needed because the doctors were either handcuffed by the crazy laws that they had passed, or they were just scared of, having to fight legal hassles. You look at a place like Texas, I guarantee you, well, I'm not going to say that because, God forbid, I don't want to be right. on that. But places like Texas, uh, Appalachia, Louisiana, they have a hard enough time getting doctors. Take a look. Don't take my word for it. Take a look at the states where they have been able to pass those draconian anti, um, excuse me, where they have passed those draconian laws, right? I mean, they don't give a damn. Well, I'm carrying a dead fetus. I would like to go ahead and get my tubes cleaned, cleaned out before this thing causes a bad infection and kills me. Or, for me, it will be just as bad. I won't be able to have children anymore. This is the insanity that this country has come to. And I will tell you quite frankly, a lot of this is our own fault. And when I say our own fault, I say that a lot of these things Democrats should have fought on quite some time ago. We should have fought on voting rights, for example. Okay, that's something that should have been fought on some years ago. You know, we need to stop this attitude that we have here in America that, oh, well, we're not going to raise hell about that because, we're never going to have somebody in office that would, do something so ridiculous. Well, yeah, we have had it, someone like that, and we are fighting like hell to make sure that we don't have them in there again. See? But these are just some observations that I'm making prior to Election Day. And I'm voting on this coming Saturday. Also, I don't know, by the time this is seen, I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but I'm planning to have a rally, veterans rally, on November 2nd. And this is going to be for veterans and for their supporters, for family members and those who support veterans and their families. And I'm holding it right down there at Fox News. The reason I'm doing it at Fox News is because Fox has done more than any other outlet, any other media outlet, to sanitize and try to justify all the obscene, anti-American, anti-military, anti-veteran types of things that happened during the Trump administration and the things that he has said, both when he was in office and since he's been on the campaign trail. And this business about, oh, there's a gap in men, all right, especially young men. Well, let me tell you young men something, okay? Just because somebody's older than you doesn't make them smarter than you, number one. But number two, what it does mean is that unless you spent a good amount of time in the military, then that person that's older, especially if we're talking about males, right? If we're talking about men, they've seen a hell of a lot more than you have seen. And when we have a whole gang of, 4-star generals and admirals and former chiefs of staff, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, right? All these people, patriotic, hardworking people, we're talking about thousands of years combined of both diplomatic, government, military experience. And half of the people worked for Donald. And they are telling you the man is a fascist, he's a child, and he's a liar. And he is a bigot, unfortunately. And these are people who are not weepy, wicked liberals. These are not people who are bleeding hearts. Okay? Now, the generals, the military, like that Marine, John Kelly, right? He is not a bleeding heart. What's the other guy? I mean, these are a couple of the guys that really stand out. I believe I worked for one of the guys when I was at DIA. And yeah, bleeding heart, I have to take that back. Because the amount of blood that they have seen poured out in defense of this country at the behest of America, I guess maybe in a way they are bleeding hearts. But I'd be damned, how in the hell, it would be funny if it wasn't so sad, if it wasn't so ironic. Donald, this kid ran like a coward, like the coward that he is. 5 times his daddy paid money to get him a deferment, right? This is when we had the draft. And I tell you quite frankly, and I know that my progressive friends will disagree with me, will strongly disagree with me, but so be it. I think the worst thing that we did was we stopped the draft. We didn't end it. A lot of people on this, they have this crazy idea that there is no more draft. Yes, there is a draft. Okay, it's just right now, it's closed. All right, but the snap of the fingers, we can open that bad boy right back up. And I tell you, when that happens, you know what the fight's going to be? The biggest fight is going to be, should women be drafted? But that's a slightly different story. But at that time, we had something that we've always had. Okay, America has always had some type of draft. Back in the days when they were fighting the Native Americans and they called out the militia, that was a draft. And I'm talking in the 1700s, 1780s, War of 1812. When the militia was called out, that was a draft, because every white male in all the colonies, and then after they became states, all property owning white men were compelled to be in the militia. And I know in some jurisdictions, if you didn't show up and you were called, you might wind up being stood up against the wall. Of course, as times went on, we have deferments, right? Just like you have a lot of the guys who they had to go work in hospitals in World War II. A lot of the guys that didn't believe in actually killing, but they still served the country and they still served the war effort because they worked in hospitals, they worked in the forest. See, that's the thing about Trump, right? That's what makes him so scummy, because of the fact that he was all for the war. He just didn't want to be bothered with it. And so he had choices. He could have did hospital work. He could have went in the National Guard. You got to remember something. One thing that Bush and the Republicans did do, they rejuvenated the National Guard. See, if you're not a certain age, You know, if you're like in your 20s, you wouldn't know a damn thing about this. But the National Guard, man, we used to throw rocks at those birds. When you caught somebody in your company when you were in boot camp, and this guy was a National Guard, and you're in there going through boot camp, going for the regular army, you gave him a hard way to go. Because this guy was going to be, what they used to call them, weekend warriors. That has changed since the 90, okay? That has changed because in 1990, they started sending people who were in the National Guard, they started to send them to war, which is really how it was meant to be like that originally. But we have fell in decline after World War II. And then what happened, Vietnam came, and a lot of the rich kids, what they would do, they would go in the National Guard. So they wouldn't have to serve regular Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, what have you. But that has changed, and I have to say the National Guard has done itself proud. It truly has. From 1990 onward, in terms of carrying the load. But see, Trump, he felt he was too good to even do that. So who in the hell is Donald Trump to criticize generals? And especially in terms of tactics, what the hell does he know about military tactics? Not a damn thing. Who are you to criticize? Just like I never thought the American people would follow behind a guy that said that American military people were losers. He most certainly did. And to me, it's absolutely incredible that we have sunk that low as a nation, that we are going to have, we're going to have people who follow a person that, he insults military people every chance he gets. It's just like he had this buddy, right, rich guy, who used to donate to his campaigns all the time. The rich guy died, so his wife, she runs a corporation now, and she does the same thing, feed him money for his campaign, Trump money for his campaigns. And he presents her with the, American Freedom Award. And he had the nerve to say that her award was more important than some man or woman giving their life and earning the Congressional Medal of Honor. And see, here we go with the media again. They basically let him get away with that. And see, that's why I say this election is also a test. It is a test to see where the nation's head is at. You have a young woman who is, I know some people hate to use the term people of color, right? Actually, it's a damn dumb term. But unfortunately, we're also dealing with a lot of dumb people, and we're dealing with a country that, I don't know, it seems that we seem to enjoy walking backwards in history. But I'm just wondering, I'm praying that America has the good sense not to cut their own throat because of their whatever bias they might have grown up with. Yeah, she's a woman. So what? So was Queen Elizabeth I. Okay? So was Boudica, the famous Celtic warrior in Britain that fought the Romans. Queen of Sheba was a great leader. And I don't, God knows I couldn't stand her. But number one, I'm not a Brit. Well, at least not in that sense of the word. But Maggie Thatcher. Nobody can, and she fought the war and won it. Nobody could say she wasn't strong. You see, sometimes when people try to hide they try to hide their prejudices because of the fact that they know that what they are pretending is as ignorant as all hell. So they have to, well, she's okay, she's nice and everything, but there's that but there. We don't know enough about. What do you mean you don't know enough about her? You got a guy who wants to be head of the so-called free world, and this guy with the Russia, Russia, Russia. Well, guess what? It has always been Russia, Russia, Russia. Unfortunately, we've had such a media that they're very selective when it comes to putting out truths there. I spent half my time in the Navy doing intelligence work, and I can assure you when it comes to Trump and what's this guy, Elon Musk, yes, it is. Along with, what's his name? Old Tommy Tucker. I don't know Thomas's first name, but old Tucker, right? With them three, yes, it is Russia, Russia, Russia. Because basically what they're trying to do, they are basically trying to help Putin drag down the United States. And what I mean by drag down, Putin and other dictators in the world, they want the United States to be in a position where we can't be a major influence for the democracies on the planet. They're scared of our strength, and they know one of our weaknesses is sex and race, right? Another one of our weaknesses is greed. Remember what Khrushchev said in the UN, when was that, 1959 or 60, when he told the West, we shall bury you. And he took off his shoe and he pounded it on the table. See? But that's what he said. We shall bury you because, what else? We shall give the capitalist the rope for which to hang himself. No, I'm wrong. I think, what did he say? We shall sell the capitalist the rope from which he will hang himself. Words to that effect. Yeah, that's what old Nikita said. It seems that Trump, he has proved a lot of people right. When the founders were sitting around talking to each other about what the new government will look like back in 1786, 1787, I honestly believe they had Donald in mind. That was their biggest fear of the mob and fear of a person like Trump. That's what happened with Aaron Burr. His opponents chose Jefferson over him because they knew that Aaron Burr was about Aaron Burr. Of course, that's what caused the big duel between Jefferson not Jefferson, between Alexander Hamilton and Burr. But we have the same problem here. You got people, we have done a piss poor job in terms of educating our public. And I would say both parties have done a very bad job educating, making sure our people are educated. My God, you got college people that don't even know who their own damn congressperson is. And that's not good for a democracy. It truly isn't. And you have a lot of young males, I'm sorry, you also have a lot of young white males. And they've been having guys like Tucker Donald, Elon Musk, telling them that, well, your expectations in life have to be seriously limited. Why? Oh, well, because the Democrats, they want everything for the people of color and for women. So you don't have anything at the table. There's nothing on the table for you. And that's a damn lie. America is we suffer from an overabundance of things here. The problem is that you have a 1% that basically wants to keep it all for themselves. See? You know, you work, you sweat, and those 1% people, they take it all. And see, here's the funny thing. If you criticize them for it, what do? They say, oh, well, Kamala's a communist. You know, it's always something like that. Oh, it's a communist. Oh, it's a socialist. And unfortunately, because of the fact that we're so poorly educated in this country, a lot of these young boys that have no idea the difference between a communist and a socialist, as opposed to somebody who's believes in the republic and democracy. And that is a problem. Because what these young boys are doing, basically, they're cutting their own throat. Okay? Besides being easy suckers for any guy that wants to start a race riot, okay? They have no idea, in many cases, about the history of this country, why certain things are done in certain ways and why certain things happen. And it's true, you know? I mean, the shows that we have dealing with this stuff, you know, are you smarter than a fifth grader? You know? You got people in college that can't answer basic, simple questions about America and about our form of government. And that's wrong. That's scary. That's wrong. You know, like down in Florida, I would not hire, if I have a job that's dealing with, you know, meeting the public, right, communicating with people, why in the hell would I hire someone who graduated from a college in Florida? Seriously, if they went to, you know, they're born and raised, they're from Florida, why should I hire? They don't teach them a damn thing. They don't know anything about history. You know, they teach them that slavery was some kind of 24-hour state fair, you know. And that's just not the way it was, number one. And yes, things that happened 100, 200 years ago, yeah, you can still feel the effects today. Take a look at Northern Ireland. Now, what was it, Downton Abbey? Peter O'Toole, Richard Burton. Hey, I'm a big Anglophile. But you got to admit, what Britain did to Ireland was wrong. And it has left, I don't want to just say bad taste in the mouth, but it has created a multitude of problems. And that's been going on for what, about 800 years? When did England decide to go into Ireland? I think it was 1160? Yeah, 1160 if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a little bit before that. But around that time, somewhere between like the 1080s and 1160, right? And they still are having major problems dealing with that issue. So this idea we have in America that you go out there and you commit a crime and you do this, right? And then we'll say, oh, well, that's in the past. We're trying to move forward. No, 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 no. That only works when people of color or working class white people do a crime and they get caught. Oh, well, I just robbed that bank, but I'm going to leave it all behind me. That's in the past. I'm trying to move forward, right? No, 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 no. We can't say that. But because that's not how life works. And I think that's that's going to be a major problem domestically and with foreign policy wise. That's going to be a major American problem because in many instances we don't look at things the way the rest of the world looks at things. Now, I'm not saying that Britain is a fairyland where everybody just loves everybody and, oh, the minute you step off the plane, you know, you got thousands of Brits just hugging each other, you know? No, man, I'm not saying that. They got some serious problems with ethnicities, race, what have you. But my God, even the king of England, or I guess still Britain, right? Charles, he knows that there are some serious issues left over from the past that have to be reckoned with some kind of way. Now, they're trying to work it out, you know, and I do give the Brits credit for that. They are trying to work it out because you have a lot of people from India living in Britain and here in the United States, for that matter, that feel that, well, England wants to forget about the racism, some of the starvation that they're responsible for, how they took the wealth out of India, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I understand exactly where they're coming from. And they're right, they're correct. That's how it happened. It did happen. But that does not make America some kind of shining example. Because at least the Brits, they recognize their history. Okay? America, we have not even gotten to that point yet. We have people in this country that actually believe that, well, the Civil War could have been avoided if Lincoln had just was a better negotiator. No, man, no. I mean, it's terrible. Almost close to 1 million, actually more than 1 million people died in America's Civil War. Especially when you add up all the people that died after the war was officially over, not just from bullets, but from disease, what have you, both for the military and civilian people and everything. But we still cannot grasp what happened. And like I said, you have people like Donald that think that, oh, well, they could have worked out a deal. No, some things, it's nice to say, well, we're going to have a government where people can sit down and hash things out without bloodshed. Well, even the founders here in America, even our founders, realized that there were just some things that you cannot negotiate on, like human freedom, see? And, of course, if you're Donald, right, I guess slavery was no big deal to him, right? But, no, Donald, there are some things that you Everything is not a negotiation. There are some things you cannot negotiate. And see, this is what scares a lot of people in the Western world. Yeah, I said Western world. See, Americans sometimes we forget, okay, or we don't, we don't want to acknowledge the fact that when we have an election, here it is. When we have an election, excuse me. Oh, hay fever or something. Oh God! Every time I'm in this room, it tears up. Excuse me. But as I was saying, a lot of Americans don't want to realize that, yeah, it's our election. But who we elect to be our leaders, it has ramifications, not just for here in the United States, but for the whole world. And Americans, we don't seem to get that. And when you have the head of the British Commonwealth, because that's what Charles is, and he's acknowledging the harm that was done, not just to India, but here in North America and in Africa. Every time you see those jewels paraded, like when Elizabeth II passed away here not too long ago, and I guess around her casket, what have you, you had all these, gold and jewels and everything, and the primary people there in their like uniform, and it has all the gold and gold leaf and silver and diamonds and where the hell do you think all that stuff comes from? How do you think it got there? They called India. What do they call India? The jewel of the crown, because that's where they got their bloody jewels from, right? And the gold. Oh my God, that's Lloyd's of London. I mean, the money that England made off of India and Africa together. Jeez. You have no idea. But their head of state acknowledges the fact that, yeah, we ripped them off. Boom. Now, as far as what we're going to do now, well, we're going to have to see what we can work out. But yeah, we did it. See, we did do it. In America, you have people like Donald and like that blockheaded governor they have in Florida, basically saying, well, we made slavery on stuff, we made that disappear, okay? So we don't talk about it. And yeah, that's a big hell of a difference. Yeah. Who do I think has a more realistic view of the world? I have to say Britain. Sorry. But you can't even, if you're not willing to look at and deal with your own reality, how in the hell what makes you think that you are fit to judge anyone else's? And, Americans talk about, oh, we love our freedoms. No one's freedom in this country has been contested. Seriously. I mean, unless you are trying to rob a bank, um, openly use narcotics, right? Opiate narcotics. Um, if you're not trying to do anything like that, no one is, no one is trying to mess with your freedom, unless, of course, you happen to be a woman needing a medical um, a medical procedure, which up until Donald Trump was perfectly legal. You know, it just amazes me just to look at what's happened in this country. Donald goes and he tells evangelical types, "You're being assaulted. You're being assaulted by liberals. You're being assaulted and attacked by progressives." And you know, hey, I'm Joe Liberal Progressive, and I'm walking around and I'm hearing Trump say, "Yes, the progressives are attacking Christians," and I'm like, "We are? Oh God, what did I miss at the last progressive meeting?" You know, right? And then it's on the colleges. The colleges, they're telling our kids it's okay to be to attack Jews and to punish Christians. And again, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be doing all this stuff, and nobody has sent me the memo. But see, that's what I mean about what's happened here in America. Now, I know that the people who attack Jews in this country are the same people that support Donald Trump. I'm not talking about Muslim students, right? I'm talking about born American, right? Native born Americans here in America, okay? I'm not talking about a foolish, a stupid student who might be Islamic or might have just, come from somewhere in the Middle East. We're not talking about that kind of anti-Semitism, which should be condemned heartily. But I'm just talking here, talking in terms of America. I'm talking about your same Ku Klux Klan types who are supporting Trump now. Yeah, I know they don't have the sheets, but they wear a nice suit nowadays. Okay? They are the anti-Semites. I mean, it's weird. I'm sorry, I'm old school. Okay, I believe in getting facts before you make accusations. And you're supposed to think before you put your mouth in gear, which is sometimes why I have a tendency to talk real fast and then all of a sudden I just slow down because I'm thinking I want to make sure I get it right before I put it out in the air. But the anti-Semitism basically comes from Trump followers, or I should say people who are prone to follow Trump. Just like that bastard that slayed those 11 people in the synagogue. He hated Jews because he said that they're the ones who are kind to immigrants. Think about that now. Think about what these MAGA people are saying. He wanted to kill those 11 people because they were kind and helped immigrants. And it's so confusing. Trump talks about, oh, those college professors preaching anti-Semitism. Well, wait a minute, man. Hold on a second. Now, you had to dinner at your house, your private crib, and the White House. And I can't think of that boy's name. It must be a mental thing with me because I know people I really hate or I really have disgust for. I have a difficult time calling their name up. But that young man who used to be the big rap star, not Jay-Z, no, hell no. But the other one, you know who I'm talking about. He lost his sneaker contract because of his anti-Semitic remarks. You know, him and that other guy with the Hispanic last name. He's also supposed to be the biggest racist in the United States today. Well, Donald had both of these clowns at his table when he was in the White House and when he was living in Mar-a-Lago after we had gotten him out of the White House. So how can you complain about and accuse, like he was accused in Columbia University, about anti-Semitism, but you sit up and not only do you invite anti-Semites to your house, you also invite them to our house, the White House. So I'm trying to understand now, if you are a follower of Trump, you know, maybe one of y'all would be kind enough to email me. Oh, I gotta figure out what happened to my email address up there. But I will supply that before we leave today. But if you're going to have people like Kanye West, and I'm running low on time here, Kanye West and that other waste of skin, biggest racist in the United States today, you invite these people to your home and to our home, but then you're going to talk about college professors being anti-Semitic? That points to another problem that we have. Donald thinks that most Americans are stupid. And I will say it, unfortunately, a lot of us are. You believe that my grandmother on my father's side eat dogs and cats. I'm not going to think too highly of your intelligence, my friend. I mean, I'm sorry. You know, because I remember, and I really used to get ticked with some of these people, like, you know, Hillary Clinton saying, well, you shouldn't call them names and blah, blah, blah. She learned her lesson after 2016, I bet you. But no, you tell that dog to stop barking. You don't say, hey, you see a dog outside your house at 2 o'clock in the morning and you got to get up at 6 to go to work. You don't hear anybody say, hey, Somebody tell that kangaroo stop barking. No, why should they? No kangaroos in the neighborhood, but there's a damn dog that continually barks and keeps everybody up at night. So you say, hey, somebody do something about that dog. Well, that's what we have to start doing in this country. And I'm so proud of General Kelly for actually standing up and saying, yeah, this guy's a fascist. Now, most of us knew it all along. But I don't know, we have some kind of code or something where some things you're just not supposed to, say, I guess. And that's not good in a democracy. Because democracy, if it's going to be about anything, it has to be about truth. And you supposedly young men out there, especially you young white men, let me say this. Listen, I spent 25 years of my life, Army, Navy, Army Reserve, and Army National Guard, okay? I have had many a good comrade that just happened to be white, okay? You should not make the mistake that, unfortunately, your parents or grandparents made of basically teaching you to hate. That's the first thing. Second thing, the American woman is not your enemy. No matter what Donald or his boy Vance tells you, right? I mean, is it the question that you hate your mother, or you had a girlfriend that maybe laughed at the wrong time or at the wrong thing? Get over yourself, okay? Get over yourself. The whole thing about being a man is that you have to be a stand-up guy. You have to be able to tell the truth, even when you're looking in the mirror, okay? Kamala has things that will be great for me and great for you, and that's what you need to think about. Listen, it's gotten late, and as usual, I get carried away, but I hope maybe you picked up a little what I'm trying to get across. Listen, this is Robert Gums, Concerned Forum. Take care of yourselves. Be good.